Hello, scholars. I'm Chauncey Joyce, and today I'm here with Sara Greenwell. Sara, are you ready to get started?
Yes, I am.
What industry do you work in, and how many years have you worked in the industry?
So I work in the insurance industry. Outside of two co-ops that I've had at UC, I've been in the industry for about 7 months. So I'm fairly new. I started at Assured Partners part-time before I graduated and then transitioned full-time just this past May.
That's great. So, what is your current title, role, and company?
So I am a risk consultant, which is just another way of saying a insurance broker. I work at Assured Partners. Some people consider it a sales role. I consider it more of a consulting role.
Okay, can you provide a brief description of this role?
So currently, I specialize in property and casualty. So basically, the building itself and then anything that could happen inside the building. I help manufacturers, so I specialize primarily just in manufacturing. And I normally step in when they're looking for more control over their insurance program and what they're paying. They're looking for different ways to finance their risk. They have really specific exposures that they need a certain level of expertise. I'm kind of the middleman between the client and the insurance company, and that can look like placing the coverage, risk management practices, policy audits, and rate negotiations. But my role also changes depending on what the client needs. Every day looks different depending on what they want. Some clients are more hands-on and some are more hands-off, but that's what's so cool is that everything is a little bit different. And then from a sales perspective, a lot of what I do right now is cold outreach. So prospecting good potential clients, getting in front of people, leveraging relationships. The brokerage side kind of marries my two interests, which is the insurance side and the people aspect.
Oh, great. Yeah, I think not a lot of people know how much of an importance that is.
Yeah.
What other roles have you held? Is this your first?
So this is my first, I like to call it a big girl job. This is my first big girl job right out of college. I was an intern with Gallagher, which is another brokerage, and I was a sales intern for 2 years. And that's kind of when I got my first taste of the industry. And it was really after that, it just kind of fell into it and never left.
Where do you currently live, and have you lived in any other different places?
So I live in Cincinnati now, but I'm not originally from here. I'm originally from Chicago, which is actually how I ended up at Gallagher. They're headquartered in Chicago. So when I was an intern, I would go back home for the summer and live in Chicago. And then when it was application season, I was deciding between returning back to Chicago or staying in Cincinnati. And Cincinnati just has my heart. So I decided to stay after graduation, and I'll probably be here for a little while.
I know that feeling. I moved to Cincinnati and then ended up in places like Miami, Florida, and still came back here. So, what is
Yes, I
your
love it.
educational background?
So I started my journey at UC kind of in an awkward time. It was like amidst COVID. I had transferred from a community college in my hometown and I was business undecided, which I had no idea what I wanted to do, what I liked, where I even saw myself. So I was like, let's just do business undecided. I wandered into a career fair with no prerequisites and stumbled upon Gallagher. I knew that I needed to go home for the summer because I couldn't live in my dorm. So I ended up at this insurance brokerage for the first time. I knew nothing about insurance at all. Fast forward a couple weeks into the internship program, I'm sitting next to Sean Gallagher, who is like the head of this company. And he looks at me and he says, if you go to University of Cincinnati, why are you not taking insurance classes? And as a little intern, that was a terrifying question.
Yeah.
So I had told him I'm not sure. I didn't even know UC had an insurance program. Apparently, he used to work with Bob Higgins. I guess they were coworkers back in the day. And so Sean Gallagher had told me, you need to go take Bob's classes. And I followed suit. I returned to UC the following semester took a couple of Bob's classes, decided this is exactly what I want to be doing, changed my major to IRM, and then came back to Gallagher and got to tell Sean that I listened to his advice and I changed my major to insurance. So that's kind of my educational background at UC and how I ended up there.
Oh, that's great. I love talking to University of Cincinnati Bearcats, so that's great. And I'm glad you
Mhm.
found what you love here.
Yeah.
Do you have any recommended education or any professional designations that students should think about?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the brokerage side specifically, we need a license. It's kind of like a real estate license. You'll need it state by state if you want to sell insurance. If you take insurance classes at UC, it's super easy to do. I actually took the classes and got my license before I graduated. On the underwriting side, there's a ton of really cool designations that you can have just depending on what you like to learn about. So one of the designations that I'm chasing is called MRIS, which is manufacturing risk. And I just get to put it in my LinkedIn title to show that I'm an expert in manufacturing. They have a ton out there. What I would recommend is if you're thinking about the brokerage side, start with your license and then really figure out what you're interested in, and you can pick a designation from there. On the underwriting side, you'll probably start with the CPCU. And if you're with a really cool company, I know does this, they'll push you to get other designations and they'll help you finance them so that you can study all different realms of insurance. But again, it's really just what you like. You can kind of chase whatever you're interested in.
Oh, that's great. What does a good day look like for you?
Okay. This was a tough question because I like to say that every day is a good day, just depending on my mindset. I try and make every day a good day. A lot of
Oh,
times I do. That's like the sales mindset. You have to really go into it like today is a good day. Really, I get excited if I'm setting meetings. That feels awesome. I love being able to set meetings. If I'm having good conversations with prospects, they're willing to talk about what they're interested in. I love going on site tours. I get to go into these manufacturing plants and see how things are made. I toured a plant a little bit ago over in Newport, Kentucky, and I was learning how they were making print labels for all these different products, which was super cool. I love prepping for meetings, meeting underwriters, talking with centers of influence. That's like a really good day for me. Those are the days I get excited about.
that's awesome. I love your energy. What does a challenging day look like?
That's a good one, especially because I'm in sales. I do a lot of cold calling, which is a little bit daunting. When I say the word cold calling, it scares people a little bit. It scared me at first. When you're doing cold outreach, if you're getting voicemails all day, that can be so defeating, especially when your whole job is to talk to people. Salespeople are super results driven and super competitive. And so when you have a day that you haven't set a meeting or a deal falls through or someone hangs up on you mid conversation, that's pretty rough. We really want to help people and make that difference. And so days when it's slower, you really have to focus on that mindset and make sure that we're thinking, what am I taking from this? What am I learning? What am I gaining to kind of make that into a better day? I won't lie, I don't like cold calling, but the more I do it, the better I get, and then the better I feel. So I'd
Oh,
say
that's
that's
good.
probably, yeah.
Yeah, I like that outlook. That's contagious. It's contagious. So
Oh,
what does
yeah.
it would you say the good days outnumber your challenging days?
Oh, yeah. Especially with my team here. That's something that our company culture just crushes. We have such a cool team. We actually hired another Bearcat around my age, so we're kind of in it together,
Oh,
which is
let's
really
go.
fun. Yes, we love Bearcats here. So we have a lot of good young energy, which is awesome. So we all go through it together. We're all cheering each other on. So I'd say I have a lot of really good days. And then if I'm not having a good day, I just balance out my tasks. If I know that I'm stressed out and I need a break, I'll go do research. I'll take time to prospect. If I know it's not a good time to make calls because my attitude isn't going to reflect over the phone, I'll do something else. But I'd say for the most part, I have more good days than challenging ones.
Yeah, that's awesome. The people around you and the culture at work is so important, just when you think of how many
Yeah.
hours you're going to spend there.
Oh, yeah.
So, what's your favorite part of your role?
I think my favorite part of my role is just learning. I really get to stay curious. I have so many really cool conversations with business owners, and I love to learn kind of about their operations and what they do. When you get the opportunity to talk to CEOs and CFOs, they're so passionate about what they do and they love to talk about it. And that's been something that's super special for me because I not only get to learn about the business, but the person. And that really just fills my heart. Like I love that I get to do that in my job.
That's great. Now, you may have answered this with cold calling, but what
Yep.
is the least favorite part of your role?
Yeah, it has to be the cold calling. That's just it's such a learning curve. They're going to tell you this. If anyone is considering a job in sales, whether they're doing banking and they're selling investment services, whatever it may be, sales is tough for sure. I don't love cold calling, but it's such an essential part of business. The more you do it, the easier it gets. And then again, it's just about the mindset. Sometimes when we put in the work, the fruits will come. And so I just remind myself, this is the work that we need to do. So, yeah, I'd say that's still an accurate answer for me.
Okay. What challenges did you face when getting into this career?
This is such a good question. So, I was actually torn between underwriting and the brokerage side. My experience was primarily in sales. However, one of the stereotypes for this industry, especially, is that your age and your gender might hinder your success. I was warned as a young female in sales that would be a tough path to take. And so they were kind of
Hmm.
pushing me more towards the underwriting side first and then transitioning into the brokerage. Underwriting is a great career. I love underwriting. I think it's so cool. And then actually during my application season, I had 5 different job offers and 4 of them were for underwriting and only one being the brokerage. So I really had to decide where I saw myself and where I wanted to end up in 5 years. I will admit that the brokerage side isn't easy, but I've been able to make a lot of progress and overcome a lot of those stereotypes. One of my female mentors, who's a CEO of this plastics company, said use their curiosity as an advantage. And that's actually really worked for me as a young female in insurance because you don't see a lot of us out there. And so a lot of people are wondering how I ended up here too. So I'd say those are probably the biggest challenges that I faced when I was entering the industry. It's just figuring out where I wanted to go.
That's great. I'm so glad to hear you're breaking barriers and kind of paving the way for others. That's really awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That must have been hard.
Yeah.
Now, I'm hearing more and more students talking about mental health issues. Do you have any personal habits, routines, activities that help you prioritize your mental health?
Yeah, I exercise a lot. They don't tell you how much sitting you do when you start like a corporate job. So I try and exercise often, at least get 30 minutes of walking in a day, and then just have your hobbies. Don't forget your life outside of work. A lot of times I like to remember who I am outside of the office. And so having those hobbies that you like to do, whether it's working out, cooking, being with friends, do those. It's so important that you prioritize your 5 to 9 just as much as your 9 to 5. I also recommend to college students, especially, please sleep. Make sure that you're sleeping. I go to bed early every night so that I can wake up well rested and ready for the day. It changes everything when you wake up not completely exhausted. And then I'll just throw it to the look good, feel good kind of aspect. Those go hand in hand. Get ready for the day. Take your time in the morning. Don't rush yourself. Eat a good breakfast. It's just going to make you feel so much more prepared for your day. And then just be honest. My managers, and you'll find that most managers are willing to have those conversations with you if you're struggling mentally. Do your activities, take care of your mental health, but also just be open and honest with your managers. If something's going on where you feel overwhelmed or stressed or your plate is too full, talk to someone. a lot of people in the industry know about mental health and they're willing to make accommodations for you. So I'd say vocalize that, especially.
That's great. This is really good advice. I know this is going to go a long way for my students. Do you have any other advice you'd like to share to an undergraduate student?
I have so much advice, but I learned the hard way. Like, that was my experience. I narrowed it down to three. I would say get involved in as many internships as you can. I learned so much about myself when I was an intern. It was such a defining moment just in my career. I'd highly recommend doing more than one at your time at UC. Go to the career fair, talk to your career coaches. My career coach is awesome. I would call him every day when I was deciding where I wanted to go. I would say get involved is another piece of advice. There's a lot of great business clubs, fraternities just through Linder. I'm going to plug Gamma Iota Sigma. It's our insurance and risk management fraternity here. I have to plug them. That was such a cool place to meet kids in my major. It was also a great place to learn about job opportunities, internship opportunities, get references. I have a lot of really great friends, so we had a lot of fun there. And then I will say my last piece of advice, stay on top of your academic advisor. One thing that helped me, especially when I was considering changing to an IRM major, was talking to a career coach and an academic advisor
Mm.
because I was in between a major and a minor and then found out that it was actually easier for me to change to a major. And I wouldn't have known that if I didn't talk to an academic advisor.
Oh,
And then
good.
I will say, try and schedule something before you pick your classes each semester because the last thing you want to do is find out that you have a handful of extra credits that you need to take during your last year. That happened to me. It's not very fun to be a senior and you're taking 22 credit hours because you're trying to graduate. Don't do it. Talk to your academic advisor. Do it as soon as you can. They will help you if you want to change your major or your minor, or you want to add a minor, add a major, go talk to them. They will help you. Don't do it on your own. It's
Wow.
not a good
I didn't even
idea.
know we allowed students to take 22 credit hours.
I
That's
had to get special approval. I had to
oh, wow.
beg my academic advisor. I said, I want to graduate in the spring so bad. I know it's a lot of classes. Can you please approve me? And he was like, yes, I'll approve you. So it
Wow,
was
and you made
hard.
it.
I
You
made
made it.
it. Don't do it. Don't do it. That's my advice. When you're a senior, take 12. When you're a sophomore and a junior, load it up. Take as much as you can.
I love it. I love it. All right. Thank you so much, Sarah.